Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
This is chapter 11, the Universal Form, text 54. Bhaktya tu Ananya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Gnatam Drastam Cha Tatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Bhaktya tu Anyaya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Naptam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Bhaktya tu Ananya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Natam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Bhaktya tu Ananya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Natam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Bhaktya tu Ananya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Natvam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Gnatam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Bhaktya tu Anyaya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Natam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Bhaktya Anyaya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Natam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa Bhaktya tu Anyaya Sakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Gnatam Drastam Chatatvena Pravestam Cha Parantapa. Anyone else? That's it. Bhaktya, Bhaktya, by devotional service, to, but, Ananyaya, without being mixed with fruitive activities, or speculative knowledge, Sakya, possible, Aham, I, Evam Vida, like this, Arjuna, O Arjuna, Natam, to know, Drastam, to see, Cha, and Tatvena, in fact, Pravestam, to enter into, Cha, also. Parantapa, O subduer of the enemy. Translation. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. I was just speaking with Parvati before the class, and I'm going to come back tomorrow to do the second half of the sloka. So I'm going to read 2 pages of the purport, and I'll read the following 2 pages tomorrow. Okay. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a 4-handed form and at once changed himself into a 2-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. For example, to undergo serious penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadasi, the 11th day after the new moon and the 11th day after the full moon. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most magnificent man of charity, because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. So if one gives some amount of his money to persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, that charity, given to spread Krishna consciousness, is the greatest charity in the world. And if one worships as prescribed in the temple, in the temples in India, there is always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is essential, and this is confirmed in the Vedic literature, in the Svatasvatara Upanishad, chapter 6, verse 23. Yasha Devi Para Bhakti Yata Devi Tata Goro Tasya Yate Katita Iyata Prakasante Mahatmana. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master in whom he has similar unflinching faith can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word "to" is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. The personal forms of Krishna, the 2-handed form and the 4-handed, are described as sudulasam, very difficult to see. They are completely different from the temporary universal form showed to Arjuna the four-handed form of Narayana and the two-handed form of Krishna are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The words Tvad and Yena Na Drista Bhavan, text 47, state that before Arjuna no one had seen the universal form. Also, they suggest that amongst the devotees there was no necessity of showing it. That form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna, so that in the future, when one presents himself as an incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. The word Na, used repeatedly in the previous verse, indicates that one should not be very much proud of such credentials as an academic education in Vedic literature. One must take to the devotional service of Krishna. Only then can one attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayan, and then to his own natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the original of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, what to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord, as stated in the Brahma Samhita, chapter 548. I'll just leave it there and come back to the translation. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Amagyana Timarandasya Amagyana Timarandasya Gyana Gyana Salakaya Chakshush Amilitam Yena Tasmaye Shri Guruve Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is, when there are large purports by Srila Prabhupada following the translation, it's generally an indication of the importance of the verse. So when Prabhupada is giving such large purport, there is a lot to say about that particular translation. So here we have one tonight. It's a 4-page purport, and it's packed with information. And Prabhupada, that's one of his responsibilities as a spiritual master, as a great acharya, is to share information, is to share transcendental information with all of us, with all the conditioned souls. So it's described here that it's very difficult to understand, at least the common man, the academic, the mental speculator, it's very difficult for them to understand Krishna, how he can be born as a four-armed personality and then be transformed into a two-armed personality. And of course, not only are the arms different, four-armed, two-armed, but also the body is different. When you see Krishna in the forearm, his body is shaped accordingly with those four arms. But when you see little Krishna in the two-arm, as a little tiny baby, the body is extremely different. So, when Krishna appears, Paritranaya Sadhunam, Vinashaya cha Duskritam, those are the main reasons why Krishna comes on this planet. Do you want to come in? There's quite a few people standing outside. Here's the representative of London. Hare Krishna. How are you? You need is there any cushions or carpet? There you go. No, have a cushion. There you go. Sit comfortably. So, Krishna in his original form, like I was saying, first, before Krishna comes, advents, appears, his land is already here. His land, his paraphernalia, his entourage, his props, they come ahead. And then Krishna appears as the central figure. He arrives in all his glory, you know. And we can remember that story of Krishna when Mother Yasoda was trying, because Krishna in that little two-armed form, he was very small, he was very naughty, mischievous, you know, and that's the very, very deep transcendental Leela that he exhibits. He's playing with his monkey friends, with his cowbird friends, with the gopas, and they're always up to mischief. I mean, they don't stop from morning till night. You know, they're always out there. Like I said, with Nanda Maharaj's cows, and not just a few cows. I mean, when I started the Goshala here back in 1975, Prabhupada told me personally that Nanda Maharaj had hundreds of thousands of cows. So you can imagine when Krishna and Balaram would go out and tend the cows. It was, can you imagine milking all those cows? And that's done in a very mystical, transcendental fashion that we wouldn't be able to understand. It would be very interesting to sort of really depth, you know, these transcendental leelas and get a sort of a description of how the cows. Of course, the cows just give milk automatically. They probably walk up to the pot and just lift up, and out comes the milk, you know, and it fills up automatically. You know. Who knows? We don't have those descriptions, but at least we can. As Maharaj, Haribol, Guru Kipaji. So we just have to use our imagination, you know, and that's why Krishna, as a small baby, or even as he's growing up, as his body changes slightly, as a very young personality, he's constantly stealing butter, curd, you know. And if you look at these monkeys around Vrindavan, of course they're different monkeys on a certain level, but they're very close in terms of their form and how naughty they are. I mean, you know, they're not ordinary personalities, the monkeys. Prabhupada was always having leelas with monkeys in his room. They were always trying to be mischievous with Prabhupada and steal something through the bars of the window. And Prabhupada would also, because they're it's called chalak in India, in Hindi, chalak. Oh, chalak, you know, very naughty. So Prabhupada would sometimes engage that chalakness, that naughtiness, you know. So they would, and Prabhupada would be very, very intelligent also, and he would attempt to give the monkey something, then he'd draw it back like that. The monkey would be, you know, because they've got very swift reactions, their head, and as their head turns, their eyes sort of go like this, They can, like mudras, they can produce very interesting forms within their face and bodies. So, we can imagine how beautiful it must have been to experience. And we pray every morning through the spiritual master to Tulsi Devi, to give us the privilege of devotional service. How does it go? Yes. Sevara adhikaro diya karo nija dasi. Yes. Give us the privilege of devotional service. And Krishna is very clearly saying, and in many, many, many places of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is indicating constantly, over and over again, that it is only by His mercy that we can understand Him. So it's just like someone else. If you want to understand a person, anybody in this room, if we want to understand one another in a very deep way, in a very, without any covering or without any, the best way is for that person to tell you. If you want to know how I am, I'm going to tell you how I am. And this is what happens in devotional service. This is the dynamic of devotional service. Krishna says, if you learn to love me, if you devote yourself to me, then I will give you the understanding. I will tell you from within all about myself. Atakshi Krishna namadi navavedgrayandriye sevanmukhe jivado swayameva asparagadaha. That one cannot understand Krishna by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotee being pleased by their transcendental loving service unto them. And this is the only way that we can understand Krishna. It is from within. It is through the super soul. Prabhupada says in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that when the mind is conquered, the super soul is reached. In other words, since time immemorial, the living entity being very infinitesimal, and that is the nature of marginal energy, is that we are extremely infinitesimal. So infinitesimal that Krishna gives a measurement for us to wrap our imagination around that measurement. 1/10,000th tip of a hair in size. Now we can imagine, we have imagination, and we can imagine what kind of size is that? It's invisible to the naked eye, of course, but that's how small we are. Yet, each tiny manifestation, each infinitesimal spark, the marginal energy of Krishna, can manifest according to desire any shape of body, be it big or small. Just like an elephant. An elephant has a very, very big body. And then if you look at a tiny ant, an ant has a very, very small body. But yet, the soul size is the same in whatever body is manifested. And the nature of the infinitesimal spark, the marginal energy, Krishna says that it is his energy or one of his energies, it's a superior energy, that the nature of that energy is to desire. The living entity desires perpetually. And also the living entity serves. And that's the constitutional nature of each individual spark. All of us, we are manifested by Krishna to serve and desire. And each and to show that each infinitesimal spark is totally and uniquely individual is by how we manifest the material body that we are wearing. And if you look at every single individual in this room, we are all uniquely individual. The color of our eyes, the shape of our faces, our nose, our mouths, our eyes, we're all uniquely individual. It's proof. That is living proof. You know, even twins, they may come out of the womb, you know, within a half an hour of one another and look very uniquely the same. But when you become what you call, what's the term, phenomenologically, there's a name, phenomenologically. That means when you become more fully present with what you're experiencing, then you will see all the minute, even sometimes very minute differences in the personalities. Okay? But the desires of that marginal energy, of that individual spark, that soul, the desires are building blocks for the next body. So if we're desiring material things, every single desire is recorded, because every single desire is a building block. And that is how the next body is manifested, by the conglomeration throughout the lifetime of that one individual spark, that one individual soul. That is how the next body becomes manifest, simply by the building blocks of desire in the previous life. So human form of life is like a crossroads, and somehow or other it behooves the living entity in the human form of life to really start questioning, why am I here? And why am I getting older? And as I'm getting older, obviously, just like everyone else that I see in the world, I can read about it, I can hear about it, I can actually see myself that everyone's going to die, or in other words, leave their body. There is no question of it. It is a genetic, we're in default. It's like the default button on a computer. We will definitely 100% leave our bodies at some point. We just don't know when. And we're all in the melting pot. Everyone has the same, is under the same influences of material nature. So, like Janaka Pandit said, that we have no time to lose. Even we can never buy back a second of time to utilize in Krishna's service. Because since time immemorial, the individual soul has been impacted by material nature in all its varieties of forms, in terms of attractions to the opposite sex, in terms of the food that we desire to eat, in terms of the clothes we like to wear, in terms of the books we like to read, or whatever it may be, whatever desire we may have. If they're material desires, in other words, if Krishna is not involved in that particular desire, it is going to have a very negative impact on our senses. And as a result, slowly but surely, since time immemorial, our mind is slowly being taken over by our senses. And the mind has become so uncontrolled over many millions of births that we can't avoid not being able to control it. Our mind is so uncontrolled. Like Arjuna is saying to Krishna 5,000 years ago, before he enters the battle, when his chariot is between the two armies, Krishna is relating the yoga process, that Astanga yoga process that they used to perform in Satya Yuga. Because in Satya Yuga, the living entity could live for, 100,000 years. So to meditate for 10,000 years is nothing. Because they were very strong, they were very spiritually advanced. There was hardly any negative influences of passion and ignorance. It was more transcendental, Suddha and mode of goodness. So they were very controlled. Their minds weren't that much agitated, weren't impacted so much. But as time has wore on, and we go into the different yugas, and the yugas become, they become influenced more and more by passion and ignorance. We can no longer, we can't concentrate, we can't meditate, we can't do these things that they were doing in Satya Yuga. So Arjuna said to Krishna, this yoga system that you've described seems impractical. I can never do that. And he says it seems like it's more easier to control the raging wind rather than control my mind, or to do this process of Astanga yoga. Let me control the wind. Let me try to control the wind. That'll be better for me. So Lord Chaitanya, he has come in this degraded age to give us, to make it so easy for us. It's called simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. Sometimes Krishna consciousness appears so simple. Yeah. It seems so complicated, it seems so easy or simple that people think, I want to be complicated. I want something complicated. I want a challenge. I can't do simple. I want complicated. And they miss the opportunity. So Lord Chaitanya has included everyone in this process, even children. That's the mercy, that's the munificence of that particular avatar, Lord Chaitanya. So getting back to the point, we cannot see Krishna directly with these material senses. Even though Krishna is so near us, he's so close. If we could capture an image, we do a selfie on the phone with Krishna. We could see how near, like two little birds on a tree. And Krishna, Super Soul, is also dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That incarnation, that Super Soul, goes with us everywhere and anywhere our desires lead us. So it's so important that we utilize this human form of life, because Prabhupada said that when we go to sleep at night, most of the time we dream. Is there anyone here that can tell me that they dream every night? Can you remember dreams every night? Prabhupada has mentioned that the soul leaves the body and it goes in the subtle body, astral travel, it travels and it goes to different levels, right, and experiences. And then the soul will come back into the body because it has to, because it has an affiliation with that body. It's with that, the soul is embodied until it's time to leave that body. It's a set time. So when we wake up, sometimes we can remember about our adventure, our dream. But then Prabhupada says, we not only dream in the night, but we dream in the day also. Because when we're going about the day, we're thinking, I am a sannyasi, I am a brahmachari, I am a grihastha, I am a vanaprastha, I am this, I am that. Even though it's connected transcendentally, we're still thinking, like we dress our bodies and we try to to dress in such a way that we can remind one another of Krishna. We wear tilak, we wear kontimala, we wear kurtas, dhotis, saris, bindi dot. Yeah? This is the culture of Krishna consciousness. These are the clothes that we wear. But we're not these bodies. We're not these clothes. You know? The Varna ashram system is there to assist us come to the point of knowing who we really are. And that is the marginal energy, the minute spirit, the spiritual spark. And when we finally, through the grace of the spiritual master, are able to render devotional service, that's when we start to really develop that connection, to develop the love and appreciation of being Krishna's servant. And then slowly but surely, when the spiritual master is planted, the Bhakti Lata seed within our heart, when we water that seed by the chanting process and the activities, the sadhana and the service of Krishna, that's when the spiritual master is happy. Spiritual master is happy when you follow his instructions. When you follow the spiritual master's instructions, the spiritual master is happy. When the spiritual master is happy, Krishna is happy. When Krishna is happy, Krishna starts opening the window in the heart. He starts to give you revelation, just like it's mentioned in this purport tonight. We get revelation. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding. Krishna gives the understanding by which we can come to him. And that's the yoga process. It's very, very simple. It's so simple. Can you imagine sitting, there's not even a forest, a quiet forest these days. Where can you go to meditate? Tell me. Where can you go? Even if you go to the forest, you'll be afraid anyway. Yogis are not supposed to be afraid because they know that Krishna's within their heart. Like Dhruva Maharaj, you know? He was only a small boy, yet he went to the forest. He was so angry, he was so upset. You know? He said, I'm determined, you know. There was a problem with his father and his stepfather. So upset he wasn't being given the proper respect and love from his parents. I'm determined, and he was so angry he went out and meditated for all those years as a little tiny boy in the forest. Prabhupada says, where can you get kusa grass this time? You're going to have a mat of kusa grass, you know? Can you imagine, as soon as maybe we can have some resemblance of peacefulness, sitting with our back straight, finding some moss or something and sit on it. But then after a while we probably want to go to the toilet. You know? There will be ants biting us. Or there will be noises in the forest that will make us anxious and afraid. And then maybe we can manage it half an hour, maybe. You know. I mean, can you imagine even Hiranyakasipu, the biggest demon, how long did he stand on his tippy toes with his arms in the air, trying to impress Lord Brahma?
1,000 celestial years.
There you are. 1,000 celestial years. To the point where, when Lord Brahma was trying to find him, he was covered over by all kinds of debris and bushes and You know, he was only like a skeleton, you know. He had all kinds of moss all over him. He was still standing there. But he was shining because of the austerity and sacrifice. But that's another thing. That Leela also by Krishna was all about cheating. Nrsimhadev showed that nobody can cheat Krishna. And that Leela was all about cheating. Hiranyakasipu thought he had everything covered, didn't he? He's covered every single aspect. Now no one can touch him. I'm home and dry. He took over the universe, you know, through his strength. And then Krishna just come out of a pillar, just like that. Boom. Just out of an atom. Who knows where Nrsimhadev was? He was in an atom, maybe. Boom, out he comes, in full regalia, ready. You know? That form was incredible. Covered every aspect. Only Kasipu lost. Couldn't manage it. So we have an opportunity now. We're all here together. How lucky we are. How lucky we are to be in Vrindavan. And as we slowly get older, as our bodies start to get older, our bodies, as they do get older, they lose strength, you know. The hair turns grey, or you lose your hair, or you know, you become thin, you become fat. you know, everything drops, and, you know, your face, your skin, everything sort of goes haywire. Are you the same person I knew 30 years ago? I don't recognize you anymore. Prabhupada, every morning we offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas. Panchakalpa Dhrubayascha, Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha, Patitapana Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And that's what Prabhupada did. He was full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. And he went to the fallen conditioned souls. He wasn't waiting for the fallen conditioned souls to come to him. He went to them. And, you know, I have this belief that Prabhupada seemed initially to be poor. He was a poor man. He went to the US with what? What did Prabhupada go? Was it 40 rupees? Equivalent? Yeah? And how did he go? Did he go by plane, first class? Did he go on a nice cruise ship? You know these big cruise ships? No, he was cargo, wasn't it? Have anyone ever been in a cargo ship before? Yeah, what's it like? Not very comfortable. Yeah. You think it's comfortable for the containers? You know? All those, yeah, depending on what the cargo is, of course, right? But you know, I've been on a merchant ship, like a cargo ship, and it was Polish. And myself and my wife here in front, Vishalini, we went on a journey on a Polish cargo ship. And it was creaking, you know how with iron the noises it makes when it's rubbing on another, like a door, or it's creaking and it makes really incredible noises, and it is so uncomfortable because it is not meant for passengers, it is meant for cargo. Yet Prabhupada, he came on a cargo ship. And you can imagine those swells in the ocean. Can you imagine? Sometimes waves, 20-foot swell between where the boat is sitting, and then all of a sudden the waves will rise it up 20 feet and then drop it back down. Is it 40? There you go. Look, I've got it confirmed. 30 foot, double what I was saying. 30, 40. Can you imagine? Yeah, who sent seasickness? Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Has anyone else been seasick? The wrenching of the stomach?
The boat goes up and down, you automatically get seasick.
Yeah, I've been seasick, and it's such a horrible feeling, Even when there's nothing left to bring up, the body's still going through that wrenching process. Automatically you're bringing up a God, nothing. And it can go on for hours, and it leaves you so weak and devoid of strength. So Prabhupada had all these conditions to deal with. But he never wavered. He had at least, how many heart attacks did Prabhupada have? 2 heart attacks. Every reason to demand that the boat turn around and get me back to Vrindavan. So the feeling that he was going to leave his body, the uncomfort of being on a cargo ship day in and day out, and the ocean, all these conditions being impacted. Prabhupada was impacted by all these conditions that material nature was throwing at him. But he came. And what did Prabhupada have? What did Prabhupada bring on that cargo ship? I can't hear. Bhagavatams. How many? That you can physically see. Maybe a case of Bhagavatams, or maybe 2 cases of Bhagavatams. But from a metaphorical point of view, things that you don't see, Prabhupada brought containers of transcendental seeds to plant in the hearts of the conditioned souls. That was his cargo. And the boat was weighed down with that cargo, because Prabhupada had many seeds. And when he landed, he became the transcendental gardener to plant the seeds in the hearts of the conditioned souls. So they, like the purport is saying, that they could practice this process of bhakti to be able to see Krishna directly. And that is the mercy, that is the creeper of the spiritual master. You can never repay the spiritual master, because the spiritual master has come. He is an avatar, a Shaktavesha avatar. He comes from above. He comes into the material world. His heart is full of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. See, the Uttama Adhikari. And Prabhupada said, in Vrindavan, he said, the Uttama Adhikari can't preach. It's impossible for the Uttama Adhikari to preach.